What's going on, you guys? My name is CL Phantom High 696, and this is my first YouTube video I'm uploading. My channel will have more than just books. Right now, books are all I have. I'm planning on getting recording software, and well, I'll get into that later. But the book I'm reading to you guys today is The Slayer Chronicles by Heather Brewer, prologue. This isn't a full book. I own no rights to this whatsoever. I only own the book. It's a book. Prologue. Abram's heels clicked along the marble floor as he moved the length of the room. His breaths were even, as usual, but there was tension in his muscles, an imminent dread that was impossible to ignore. The room was dim, the only light pouring in from the arched window all along its longer side. It was growing dark. The sun was setting behind the building, casting a warm orange glow across the sky. Outside the window, the shadowed London Eye stood watch. Seated in a tall, ornately carved chair at the end of the room was a man in his 80s, his hair frosty white. His eyes spoke with wisdom beyond anything that Abram had yet to experience. To the old man's left and right were several smaller but just as ornate chairs, holding several other people, each of varying age and experience. Abram knew each of them, some better than others, but no words or expressions of greeting were offered. This was not a social visit. He had been summoned for a distinct and important purpose. As Abram approached, he knelt, following the usual pomp and circumstance of Slayer Society headquarters meeting. With a nod, the old man gestured for him to stand and respond to his summons. Abram stood, cleared his throat, and began. Masters, you have called me here with a question, the question of who will be next in my bloodline worthy of serving our noble cause. I submit to you that I have seen evidence of the Slayer gene in my nephew, Greg McMillan, and call upon you for permission to approach the boy with enlightenment. A murmur passed through the gathered group, one filled with doubt that troubled Abram, though he would never admit to it. Once the murmurs had quieted, the elderly man spoke. You have been called to answer that question, yes, Abram. But what of the child we have asked about? He seems far more likely to wield a stake some day than your nephew Greg. As you know from tracing the bloodline, it has been determined that the next Slayer in your family will likely be a niece or nephew, but it is highly more likely that the child will be fostered by your brother Harold than your brother Michael. The genetic tests that we've run on hair and blood samples collected from both your brothers show that the Slayer gene is dormant state within Harold's genes, which means that his offspring are likely receivers. The odds of this gene skipping generations and miraculously appearing within one of Michael's children is preposterous. Abram counted 2 heartbeats before he spoke again. Harold has a son and daughter, but neither Josh nor Cecile seem the right fit for this society's needs. Both are far too emotional, and the children are they are children, and children are emotional creatures. Abram, the old man, waves his hand dismissively through the air. Tell us more about your nephew Josh. Abram paused. He was never one to openly disagree with the society's whims, but for a brief moment he hesitated before answering. Josh is currently 10 years of age, smart enough with quick reflexes and adequate speed, but he lacks the drive to further his physical attributes, to better himself in that regard of his own accord. He is not yet training age. 8 more years may awaken that drive within him. Abram's chest like tightened. He is also incredibly empathetic. He has a scientific mind. He is not the next Slayer. Despite his mastery of self-control, Abram's voice rose, echoing off the walls of the Slayer Society headquarters. Once he realized it, he dropped his eyes in shame. The old man leaned forward, his demeanor calm, his expression full of compassion. "We believe that he is, Abram. The sooner you come to accept that, the sooner you can begin preparation for his training." Abram shook his head, his eyes still on the marble floor below. When he spoke, his voice had softened to a near whisper, as if to make up for his previous tone. "Josh is weak, not just emotionally, physically. I'm not sure he could survive the training." The man sighed heavily and sat back in his chair. "Then he will die, Abram, and your bloodline in society will end. But if he is the next Slayer in your family, you will train him. Of that you have no choice." "And if he refuses to train?" Even as the question left his tongue, Abram reached out for it with all his wanting. But it was too late. He asked a query to which he already knew the answer. The old man held his gaze, a look of sadness about him, as he replied, "Kill him quickly. Family deserves mercy." Alright, guys, I know this was a short video, but that's the prologue. And that is all I am doing for right now. You guys can give me reviews and let me know what you think.